Alright guys, Russia is about to lose the most important city in Ukraine, and if case it happens, this can be truly a devastating consequences for the Russian army and even the regime of Putin himself. At the same time, Chechens are being sent to Ukraine just to be slaughtered without achieving any significant success. Russians are losing its tanks on alarming speed, and then we'll talk about the historic decisions that have been taken during NATO summit. But more about all of this in just a couple of minutes. What's up, investors? It's the Russian dude. And let's get straight to the point and talk about some ridiculous Russian propaganda. So, today we have these three pictures of three Russian Z patriotic cars. Picture number one of this grey one, then it is the red one, and then a little bit passive-aggressive car number 3. And just by looking at Putin's presence on these cars, it kinda looks like the Three Horsemen of Apocalypse. First is the Putin, the calm one, then it is Putin, the negotiator one, and then is the third one, the Putin, the problem solver. But at the same time, it kinda reminds me of a video game when you have to select your fighter. And just let me know in the comments what do you think will be their special abilities. But to be honest, I think it does not matter which warrior you choose, you're gonna end up on the losing side in this game. But okay, now let's go to the main topic of the video, which is Russians, which are about to lose the most important city in Ukraine. We will also talk about Chechens being sent into Bakhmut and literally being slaughtered for no reason before moving to the south of Ukraine, and then we'll finalize the things with this NATO summit in Vilnius and its historic decisions. And so yes, this extremely crucial city that Russians are about to lose, as some of you might have already guessed, is the city of Bakhmut, because as you can see from this map, Ukrainians made even more progress last night closer towards Klishchiivka. And the reason why Russians are losing the territory around Bakhmut so fast is obviously because there is no more Wagner protecting the city, which, to be honest, was the only Russian force which was capable of at least something. And so, as soon as Wagner left Bakhmut, they obviously had to be replaced with somebody else. And these somebody else are no one else than Chechens. Already last week it has been mentioned that approximately 7,000 Chechen soldiers are on their way to Bakhmut and 2,400 more are being trained as we speak. Then later on we even received such videos where these soldiers were already recording themselves from the inside of Bakhmut. And just honestly, I simply cannot make this up. According to the report by the Institute for the Study of War, which refers to some Russian propagandistic channels, they did see Chechen soldiers in Bakhmut. But guess what they were doing? They were mainly just taking pictures with Bakhmut city signs, just to upload them, believe it or not, I guess on TikTok or Instagram, Twitter, wherever, just to create this once again informational victory about their presence in this city and that this city is under very good protection by Chechens themselves. So I guess the TikTok stereotype is being confirmed as we speak. But I mean, this is an actual war, so posting TikTok videos is simply not enough to win it. That is why, according to already Ukrainian partisans, some Ukrainian other formations, they're already being engaged with fights against Chechens, and to be honest, they're relatively easy to fight against, because they're not as prepared as Wagner soldiers or even regular Russian conventional forces. Because of this, there are already dozens or maybe even hundreds of them being eliminated, even more of those injured, and a lot of them abandon their places and they start going as deep in the back fronts, whatever it's called, as deep as possible. And I mean, if these are the Russian defenders of Bakhmut, I have a pretty bad news coming to the Russian military commandment. But wait, there is more, because Ukrainians, they continue to pressure against Bakhmut flanks and also the front lines, and reportedly they destroyed the Russian observation tower in the southwestern locations of Bakhmut. In addition to that, according to the General Staff of Ukraine, Ukrainians also, besides attacking from the north and to the south, they also increased their combat activities in two different sectors next to Andriivka and Kurdyumivka, most likely in the anticipation to increase the pressure against Bakhmut from the south. In addition to that, pretty much daily combat activities are happening within Bakhmut, with Russians primarily using artillery fire and doing this combat from the distance. Closer to the end of this video there will be a very big loud noise right in front of the camera operator, something that I cannot show on YouTube. The full version will be on my Patreon, the link is down below. But Ukrainians, besides fighting directly inside the city, they also try to eliminate as many Russian military vehicles as possible on Bakhmut flanks. Such as, for example, in this video we can see yet another, the most modern combat tank of Russia, T-90M, being destroyed at first and then pretty much finished. And you know what? Recently we receive more and more of such reports when Russians are losing a lot of its specifically extremely modern tanks, such as T-80s and T-90s. So they do lose their extremely developed combat machines at this point at an alarming rate. And as a result of all this, the Institute for the Study of War confirmed that at this point Ukraine does have a full fire control over Bakhmut because they're able to occupy two important strategic locations to the north and the south of the city. So pretty much yes, very good news so far. It does feel like that Russians are clinching to Bakhmut with whatever last bits and pieces of their morale, strength and courage, which will also evaporate as soon as Ukrainians will be able to perform another successful attack. And then the Russian soldiers will run. They will run as fast as they can, not caring about all the orders from their military commanders, leaving all their military vehicles behind them for Ukrainians to seize and take advantage of this situation. And then, as soon as other Russian soldiers will see them running, they will most likely do it as well. We are extremely close to this turning point where Ukraine rapidly liberates Bakhmut, the city which Russians spent so much time, effort and human lives capturing it. That is why losing it for them will be completely unacceptable. This will be a significant informational war defeat for the Russian authorities, because in the past they tried to sell so hard this victory in Bakhmut, why they had to sacrifice at least 60,000 people capturing it. And now just imagine them saying, sorry guys, we had to tactically retreat from Bakhmut, so sorry about that. The consequences, if not now, then surely later, will be truly catastrophic, and I mean, who knows, maybe this one small city of Bakhmut can become the first domino in this chain reaction which will inevitably lead to a total Russian defeat and maybe even Putin regime dethronement. So let's see, but at least one thing is for certain, is that I will always be here to report on such events for you guys, and if you don't want to miss them, just feel free to like this video and subscribe to my channel. You can also follow my second channel, The Russian Dude Clips, where I post under 1-minute summaries every single day. The link is down below. But okay, and now literally just a couple of last words from the east before we move to the south of Ukraine, and then we'll talk about the historic decisions that NATO is making during its NATO summit in Vilnius. And first of all, according to the report by the Institute for the Study of War, both Russians and Ukrainians, they continue to engage in hostilities along Svatove Kreminna, and reportedly Russians even made some gains, which are not yet confirmed by this map. Then we have a picture of this wheeled tank from France, AMX-10 RC, which as you can see Ukrainians are using in Donetsk front lines. Another video also from the eastern front lines shows us a lot of Ukrainian soldiers approaching Russians, hiding inside trenches and forcing them to surrender. The full video, because it's not allowed on YouTube, will be available on my Patreon. The link is down below and there's still 1 week of free access. And ultimately, in the last 24 hours, Ukrainians were able to destroy 3 control points of Russians, 10 artillery units, 1 air defense system and 1 electronic warfare system. Right, now let me give you a very quick similar update from the south before we move to the NATO summit, and then we'll finalize everything with the conclusions and takeaways. And first of all, as you can see from this video, Russia is planning to add another warship to the Black Sea fleet, which will be capable of launching 8 caliber missiles. And I mean, no wonder Russians are doing this, because so far this has been the only successful thing they were being able to do and across entire Ukraine, which is attacking civilian areas. Because recently yet another residential area in Zaporozhye has been targeted by Russian attacks. But overall, in the last 24 hours, Ukrainians were able to intercept 11 out of 15 Shahid drones. Talking once again about the report by the Institute for the Study of War, the main hostilities in the south are happening right now between Zaporozhye and Donetsk regions and also to the south of Orikhiv. And as you can see, Ukrainians were able to regain the control of a little bit more land to the northeast of Robotyne, and going a little bit more to the east, we can see that Ukrainians liberated even more land to the south of Rivnopil. And ultimately, right here is the video allegedly from the southern front lines, where Ukrainians are using the Stinger missiles to intercept successfully a Russian helicopter. Full video is on my Patreon, the link is down below. Alright, now it's time to talk about the historic decisions that are being made during NATO summit in Vilnius, then we'll talk about the main takeaways of the video, but so far, as for now, can you please once again subscribe to my channel if you like this style of daily updating. It does help channel a lot, so thank you so much. And first of all, as a result of this NATO summit, Australia will be pledging 30 Bushmasters armored personnel carriers to Ukraine. Canada will also be providing its military vehicles to Ukraine, and then the country of Norway is pledging 2 more air defense systems NASAMS to Ukraine as well. And at the same time, Norway will also be providing 1,000 these microscopic reconnaissance drones to Ukraine called Hornets, which are extremely useful in detecting the enemy's positions. Then we have the countries of the Netherlands and Romania, which agreed to train Ukrainian pilots how to fly on Western fighter jets this August. And ultimately, during this NATO summit in Vilnius, the countries participants of G7, they said that they're preparing historic decisions, which will be in regards to the security guarantees for Ukraine. For obvious reasons, the details are not yet made public, but most certainly, they claim, this will be a significant step towards ending this war. And in addition to that, as soon as this war is over, the countries will strengthen Ukraine so much, so such attacks in the future will no longer be possible at all. And even the President Zelensky himself, he said that the results of this NATO meeting are pretty extraordinary. He only wishes that there will also be a direct invitation to NATO, because if you remember from my yesterday's video, unfortunately Ukraine will not become a part of the alliance as long as the war is going on its territory. But at least NATO promised that they will reduce the requirements for Ukraine to join the alliance, which will hopefully happen as soon as possible. And so yes, to sum it all up, Russia is about to lose the most significant city in the east for them, which is Bakhmut. They try to patch these holes in defenses by using TikTokers, Chechens, which are not capable of fighting, and at the same time Ukraine receives more and more guarantees and protections from the West, which will most certainly bring the final victory, hopefully sooner rather than later. If you don't want to miss the exact turning point of this war, can you please once again subscribe to my channel? Only takes one click. The absolutely best way to support my work will be through my Patreon. You can also become my channel member or simply use a PayPal link. Everything can be found to the right and down below. Thank you so much for your attention, товарищи. Please follow me on Instagram. Beware there are scammers in the comments, and see you tomorrow.